Hi, welcome to the Bizz Buzz Channel. I'm your host, Larry Wilner. And we're happy today to have Allan Hirsh from Allan Hirsh Advisors in studio with us. Full disclosure, I'm Allan's videographer for his radio show, AHA Business Radio, channel 1300 CBS Radio in Baltimore, Maryland. It's every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. I think I got that right.
You got that right.
So Allan, just give us a little bit of your history. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dig into all the things that you do.
When I got out of, graduated from the University of Virginia, I went right into a family business, publishing business, which I then became the president of and ran it from 1982 to really today, but it really hasn't published anything since 2001 when I recognized that the internet was going to challenge the kinds of books that we did, a lot of informational books. So I made the decision to license all the books, liquidate the business, and continue to collect royalties, which I still do to this day.
So in a sense, the business is still operational?
It's still operational. It's about intellectual property.
Right.
The most important thing about publishing, same thing for radio or television, is who owns the rights.
Sure.
Is the intellectual property.
Sure.
So I could, even though some of the royalty checks aren't as large as they used to be after 16 years.
At one time, right.
After 16 years, I still continue to collect and operate that business.
So you transitioned out of that, obviously, to something else?
I transitioned out of that as an operation. I still run it, cash the checks, pay the royalties to the third parties that I have to pay them, and do what's necessary. And sometimes I get inquiries about someone who wants to buy additional rights. Sure. So I do that. But that's very minor. And then after I left the publishing business in 2001, a couple of years later, I went to work as a executive director for Ben Carson Scholars Fund here in Baltimore. Stayed there for a short period of time. And after that, I just did some consulting in the publishing business. But a couple of years later, I guess it was 2007, my wife said to me, I married you better for worse, but not for lunch.
Not for lunch or dinner, just get out of here.
Well, dinner, she married me for dinner because she doesn't cook. Because I do the cooking. So that's another
story.
That's a long story.
That's another story for another day, right?
Right, which we won't go on today. So she said, find a job, buy a business. I'm behind you 100%. So in 2008, I bought a business, which was a company called Hospitality Services, designed commercial kitchens and restaurant facilities all over North America. Unfortunately, I bought it just before the recession.
Was that a franchise or was it an existing business?
It was an existing business owned by a local owner who unfortunately had cancer, and so he was selling it. I bought it in 2008, joined an organization called Vistage International because it was a different market, which is the oldest and original CEO peer advisory group program along with one-on-one coaching. They helped me tremendously during the recession. That business I don't think would have survived without their help. I turned it around and actually was able to sell it in 2011, at which time my coach said to me, since I couldn't be a member anymore, he said, you should be doing what I'm doing. With your experience and your knowledge, he made arrangements for me to go out to Vistage, to their headquarters in January of 2012 to become a certified coach facilitator for Vistage.
Now, was this how Allan Hirsh Advisors came about? Was this the start of that?
The start was about a year later. I stayed with Vistage for about a year.
So you're working for them or under their umbrella?
Under their umbrella for a year.
Right.
And we separated mutually. And I wanted to continue the coaching, so I did. I created Allan Hirsh Advisors and used the tagline, creating aha moments.
Right. Hence
that's with the radio show, aha,
right.
AHA Business Radio, which actually says creating aha moments for business, by business, about business.
Right.
If you throw the whole,
I've heard that 100,000 times.
I'm sure you have, after videotaping as many shows as you had.
That's right.
And then putting that logo on the tagline and the logo on the front of the videos.
I dream about it.
Well, I hope they're good dreams. So I've been coaching for basically 5 years, in my own for 4.5 now. Still have a couple of my original clients.
Now I know that there's I know a little bit of the background of your advising because I'm part of some groups that you run. Give us a little bit of the underpinning, the theory behind it, and the central theme.
The central theme about what I do is really, it's the theme of a combination of peer advisory boards, where you're sitting in a room with your own peers. In this case, business owners, because I prefer working with small, mid-sized business owners. I really believe in making a difference in their lives, and I do that by trying to build their trust, and then helping them find a better way to run their business so they can achieve their personal and professional goals. So part of that is by bringing them together in what I call carefrontational environment, where where you care about the people, but you're prepared to be confront them.
Sure.
About the issues that pertain. And we do a form of mastermind, controlled dialogue in most discussions, processing issues and opportunities that the members face. But when you have a group of 6, 8, 10 individuals, all of whom have some of the same problems, because 80% of what you do in a business, as you get to certain points, has nothing to do with the products or services you sell.
Right, and I can personally testify, being part of that process in small ways with your group that I'm part of. Yeah. Can you give us some maybe some examples of some?
I'll give you examples, but that's in the fullest extent, because you asked me what's the ideal. And the ideal is that combined with once a month one-on-one coaching.
Gotcha.
Because there you can do the real
can drill down
and really drill down. You can really get to know them. You get to know their personal goals, the company goals. You get to know where they really want to be. Because if you don't know your personal goals and your company goals, wherever you go, wherever the decision takes you, it's like riding a bicycle. The front wheel which is your personal goals, has no power. Right. The business generates the power for the vast majority of entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And if you're sitting there guiding those two wheels, if those decisions and you're not aligned together, you're going to go left, you're going to go right, you're going to fall off, you're not going to go where you want to go. Right. So the combination of the one-on-one and a group environment, to me, is an ideal coaching arrangement.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I can talk about a couple of them without using names. I have one client, and I also use a process. I have one client here in Baltimore that's in what's traditionally considered, and I won't tell the industry, but it's traditionally considered, because so much of it is franchises,
sure,
as a commodity business, where everybody's using it based on price.
Which is a lot of businesses these
Which
days.
Is a lot of business.
Or the perception is that businesses are commoditized.
Right.
Even though they may not be.
Right. So during my training, I saw the TED Talk called Why by Simon Sinek. And I fell in love with it.
The Why
by Simon Sinek. Anybody listening to this, see it. But it's only the tip of the iceberg. He talks about great leaders have a why. But the group I work with and have been certified by as a why coach believe that every one of us has a why. Why we do what we do and how we do things.
Sure.
So with this particular client, who'd been struggling, been in business 36 years, struggling for 33 of them, I worked with him to understand his personal goals. So that's why he came to me. And then I worked with him to understand how to achieve his personal goals through the business. I discovered his why, which is about building relationships based on trust. And then we built a messaging system. It's called a why message, about starting with why you do what you do, followed by how you do it, which is proprietary processes. It might be value added. It might be a whole bunch of things. But
can I interrupt? When you say proprietary process, what do you mean?
I mean,
in that particular business,
it might be. You might have processes that you go through that are different than others.
Right.
That how you do what you do. So, for example, this person, when people come into his business, he doesn't, and they ask for a price. His first question is, "What do you want it for?" Not, "Yes, I can do the price."
Sure.
But he never operated the business that way. So by changing his whole messaging, by saying I'm so-and-so, and I build trust with my customers, and I do that by doing this. And then he says what he does.
Right.
The key there is then marketing that. And I'm not involved in the web. We worked together on developing the language. He has to go out and sell that.
Sure.
So, and I started working with him 3 years ago. This year, his sales will probably triple what they were in 2014.
Uh-huh.
But besides that, his gross margin has gone from 40% to about 65%. So he's increased not only his sales by 3 times, but his gross margin by no longer being considered a commodity by his customers. He's increased his gross profit. His customers now trust him. When they need whatever it is they need, they call him. He gives them a price and a schedule, and he works with them to create what it is they want, and he delivers.
Sure. And it must be extremely satisfying for you because that's why you're doing this, right? So this is why you started down this path, and to see success like that coming from your interaction.
Absolutely. Or another client I've been working with 2 years. He's in the construction business. When I started with him, he thought that he's former military, was a sergeant. And one thing, I've never been in the military, but in the military, you want to make sure that you can do anything your soldiers can do.
Right.
So he thought the greatest asset he had in running his business was that when they were really busy, he could go out in the field and outperform everybody on the company. He thought that was great.
That was his right.
Yeah. So his sales he'd have big sales for 4 months, no sales for 4 months, declining sales, and then have to rebuild it the next. Right. And for 10 years, he'd have this roller coaster of a business. So that he thought it took him a year of working with me, and literally you can see it on the charts we work out. When he changed and realized that's the worst thing he can do as a leader. The most important thing he could do as a leader was work on the business, not in the business.
Right.
All of a sudden, we chart his sales by month, we chart the estimates by month, we chart the backlog by month, and they all now have a 20-25% incline going up because he's no longer
pounding nails,
and literally, or screws.
Right.
And now as he's grown over the last year and a half, he's also recognized that things like he's had to delegate the estimating. So he now has someone doing the estimating. His son is the now field supervisor for all the projects out in the field. So he doesn't have to see all the jobs all the time. Yeah. And he's had a shortage of labor, so he's assigned one of his foremen to train. So every few months, he's bringing in someone that raw.
He's delegating a little bit more.
He's absolutely delegating, and his business will really take off.
So this may be a difficult question to answer because you hear a lot of things from a lot of people in your advisory capacity. So are there a couple of things that you think are key issues for most people that run across the board, regardless of who you are, regardless of who the businessman, businesswoman is? Are there key things, a couple of things that you feel are the nuggets that everybody seems to present?
Well, I think the biggest challenge entrepreneurs have is in small, mid-sized business, number one, they think they know it all. And when they don't, they are much better because we don't know what we don't know. And that includes me.
Right.
I don't know what I don't know, which is why a peer advisory board is so important because there are people in that room that know things I don't know.
That may know.
Right. So I'm learning all the time myself. The fear of delegating. The fear that it's not going to be done the way they want it done.
Sure. That nobody can do it as good as you can.
Right. And there's a TED Talk not a TED Talk, there's a segment I use when I do a presentation about Steve Jobs talking about the 2 most important things for an entrepreneur to think about.
They are?
Passion. He says, if you do not have a passion for what you're doing, why are you doing it, number one? Number two, when 80% of what you do as a business owner as it grows has nothing to do with the products and services you sell, you have to worry about bookkeeping, you have to worry about the finances, you have to worry about hiring and firing people, where your business is, getting business, not the products and services. You're going to have times that are boring, they're hard, they're challenging. If you don't have a passion,
that's what keeps the fire going.
That's
That's
absolutely
what keeps
right.
you moving forward.
Absolutely, that's what keeps you going. And the second thing is, And it's the biggest challenge. And he says, is hiring the right people. And it's hiring people smarter than you in areas that you either don't want to do or don't know enough about. You hire people that are smarter than you because, very frankly, you can learn from them.
Sure, absolutely.
And those are the two things he says, Steve Jobs said, excuse me.
And marry somebody smarter than you too.
That was
for
something
my wife. That pitch was for my wife in case
and
she's
mine
watching
too.
it.
Yeah, you know the old story, happy wife, happy life.
Oh, absolutely, I know it full well.
But those are the two biggest things.
Sure.
And I'm also a firm believer. Yes, I'm a business coach, but the greatest athletes in the world have someone coaching them
Sure.
from the day they start as an athlete to the day they stop. They are the best in the world at what they do.
Sure.
Business owners who probably know their products and services, but really don't understand or see, even the great athletes, they can't see themselves
Sure.
the way a coach can help them identify the weaknesses to build the strengths.
Right. As good as a golfer as I am, I always need an instructor to come in and show me.
Well, as bad as Tiger Woods
That's a
is
lie,
now,
by the way. I'm not that good a golfer. I get it.
I wish
need
I could be
instruction.
playing golf.
Right.
I used to be pretty good.
Just to take a little bit of a turn here, only because I'm so familiar with AHA Business Radio. Why don't we talk about that for a few minutes? Because I think it's an incredible concept, and you've been doing it for a long time.
3.5 years.
You've been hard at it. I know it's hard work, but it's been a tremendous experience for me to meet so many people. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
I started it three and a half years ago, and the irony of the whole thing is that my first show, the first time I'd ever been in a radio studio in my life, was the same week I went on Medicare. So if you think about the people out there who want to start new careers, I started a radio show the same week I went on Medicare.
Right.
So you know how old I am. That was 3.5 years ago. But the idea for the radio show came to me from a twofold point of view. We talked about it a minute ago. People don't know what they don't know. And the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. So I do this AHA Business Radio as a show, and the theory behind it is to bring on guests that are smarter than me
Right.
on subjects I don't know, or even if I do know, to educate the public on business. Whether
Sure.
you work for a business, whether you own the business, you're a manager of a business, from leadership skills to internet risk management, and
You've
this
had
week
butchers.
I've had a
met
butcher.
Butchers.
I've had bakers. I've
Right.
had restaurant tailors.
Right.
Haven't had any candlestick makers.
Right.
But this past week I had lawyers. We did 4 segments on various aspects of employment law.
Oh, that should put everybody to sleep.
Yeah. Next week I have and I know but the next week's show is going to be the president of the Better Business Bureau of Greater Baltimore. So it's a wide variety.
How many shows have you done? Uninterrupted. How many shows have you done?
It's in 3.5 years, it's one a week.
Right.
Only repeated one show once when I had to have neck surgery, so I couldn't be at the studio, and I couldn't find someone to do it. So I repeated one show. But other than that, I count it's 180 shows, something like that,
Right.
in 3.5 years, and I love every minute of it. And the other part was self-serving. I need to be truthful. Build a brand, build a reputation as someone that has knowledge. And if you don't have the knowledge, where do you go to get it?
Sure. Well, it's certainly done that, and I've seen that firsthand, not only in meeting with your sponsors, but participating in I don't know, I guess I've filmed probably 40, 50 shows at this point,
Yeah.
something like that. So it's afforded me an opportunity to meet many, many people.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had situations where a client needed something, and I connected them with, the governor's ombudsman for small business, or the state's what's the right word for it? The manager of the state's funds, one of the largest managers of the state funds for investing in small, mid-sized businesses and minority businesses in the state. I had a client that needed some money.
Right.
Was having problems getting an SBA loan from the bank.
Oh. I'll talk to you afterwards. I can use
I can too. But you have to show the need anyway. But that, and instead of waiting 6 months, was able to get something in what, 4 or 5 weeks.
Great.
But so much of it is not what you know, but who you know.
Sure. Well, I want to wrap this up a little bit. Is there anything you think we've missed? Is there a tidbit that you want to leave everybody with at this point?
I again, maybe being serving, I think it's very important, and I'll mention again the TED Talk by Simon Sinek.
Right.
It's so important that, and I found it, and I'll use a very brief example, how important it can be to people to understand why they do what they do. Because you can be in actual fog and not know it.
Sure, and that's the underpinning of your philosophy.
Right.
Right. That's
one of
your world spins around
that.
Right.
And to give an example, there's a woman that I've known for years. She's been in one particular industry for 30 years. She showed up in a networking group and was so unhappy with her work. She was about changing her career.
Right.
And I said to her after the meeting, I said, just sit down with me for an hour.
And
she did. And within a half an hour, we were able to find that her why is about trust. And you should have seen her eyes light up, the smile on her face when she had the aha moment. I don't trust my boss. If she's not in a relationship with people she trusts, she's going to be miserable.
Right.
That is her core
Sure.
of what she does and how she does things.
Sure.
Is about building a relationship based on trust. Within weeks and months, she found a new job in the same industry,
Right.
as happy as a lark, because
true.
she made sure before she took the job, she could trust the boss.
so, for anybody out there that wants an aha moment, how do they get a hold of Allan
Well, there are
Hirsh
two ways.
Advisors?
You can call my office phone, which is 443-977-4500, or they can reach me at allanhirshadvisors.com.
That's terrific.
Or they can, and if they want to listen to the radio shows or see your videos,
That-
they can go to ahabusinessradio.com.
.com. Well, Allan, thanks for coming in
It's
today.
my pleasure.
It was
Thank
terrific
you for having
you
me.
here. Terrific
As
having
I
you
like
here.
to say, I'm glad to be had.
And we want to welcome everybody here at Bizz Buzz Channel. Please subscribe to our channel. You can see all the interviews coming up. We really appreciate Allan coming in and sharing some of his thoughts and ideas with us. And please stay tuned for our next interview. Thank you.